Hi, this is our final research presentation on Second Wind Coffee. My name is Dylan, and I'm joined with my group mates, Brenna, Jacob, Kennedy, and Mikey. And here's on to our research results. Okay, so the purpose of our research was to further understand Second Wind's key potential donors and the behaviors and perceptions of donors nowadays, and interpret how they can best improve their communication habits as well as strengthening their message. We began by starting off the research process by conducting secondary research, not only to discover as much information as we could about Second Wind Coffee, but also more information on its donor base. And this research was necessary as it provided us with the strengths and weaknesses of Second Wind, and also to further analyze the ongoing situation that is occurring at Second Wind Coffee House. In addition to our secondary research that we performed, we also conducted a set of in-depth interviews to further our initial findings. The in-depth interview was valuable in gaining new insights into the perceptions of Second Wind's key publics. And we were able to discover what students knew about Second Wind Coffee House, and also find areas in which Second Wind could improve. We then also conducted a survey to gather more extensive knowledge about the donation habits of potential donors and their preferred communication styles. The results of the survey supplemented our findings in the secondary research and the in-depth interview, and provided information on who would be the best potential donors for Second Wind and how to increase their awareness and engagement through social media. In order to learn more about Second Wind and their competitors, we decided to create a social media audit, which we further explored and analyzed other coffee shops in the area, and what they are doing differently than Second Wind, as well as learning more about how to increase their social media presence based on what other coffee shops in the area are doing. And because of this research we conducted, we were able to make recommendations to Second Wind Coffee that we could implement in order to increase their awareness and social media presence, as well as strengthening their message and expanding their donor base. So the method for the in-depth interview, we decided that an in-depth interview was best suited to gather this information because it was more convenient for the interviewees and the interviewers, and it decreases the chances for biased responses. We also met in class to design and come up with questions for our interviews that would lead to responses that were relevant to the research we were conducting. Each member was in charge of selecting a participant that coincided well with Second Wind's key publics. And each participant gave oral consent before doing the interview. The interviews were either recorded on Zoom or voice recorded, with the interviewees determining which way they preferred. The participants in the interview were advised there were no risks or benefits from our research and guaranteed confidentiality. They all lasted around 10 to 30 minutes. The participants were made up of both females and males. Their ages ranged from 19 to 22 years old, and they were predominantly white, with one being Latin American. And each interviewee was a current student at the University of Oklahoma, and all varied in their religious backgrounds.
Now we'll discuss the interview findings. Based on the participants' responses, there was a mix of knowledge, as if the participant had heard of Second Wind Coffee, and it's also the location of Second Wind. The answers ranged from no awareness to some awareness. The lack of awareness comes from the ineffective communication from their social media outlets. I see on their social media, there's a lot of infographics, but there's not a lot of interaction that goes on with them. But there's the most interaction they have is from infographics or from their barista postings. There were also mixed reviews on if the researchers There are also mixed reviews when the researchers asked the participants about their comfortability with the coffee shop's association with the church. Most of the participants did approve of this association and claimed they would be comfortable going to a place with this affiliation. But on the other hand, participants would feel more comfortable if it was a different denomination. Some even mentioned that they are uncomfortable due to some personal barriers that might be crossed. Our participants expressed that they have a treat yourself mentality when it comes to their expandable income at the end of the month, saying that they could spend it on some new clothes, something they've been wanting for a while, spend it on a trip, or just save for the future. There is little awareness and knowledge as to where cash donations can be made. Some said if they were asked to round up at a grocery store, then they would give that cash donation. But other nonprofits participants that are known by them are Salvation Army and Goodwill. Most participants also believe in supporting the Norman community and make their home a better place. Right now, there's a higher call for better equality and equity in the community. Some topics discussed were also finding equal education and helping not only the homeless, but the lower income families.
Thank you so much, Brenna. So for our social media audit, we wanted to see the online presence of 4 major brands, including Second Wind and their 3 competitors. So to better understand, we analyzed how these brands were associated with the Norman digital market. We studied how they created content and engaged with the community for the past 2 months on 3 separate platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Doing so, we kind of looked at the content creation, the key messages, the communication style, and the engagement metrics that would help them best engage with potential donor bases. So in our next slide, you'll see that we have a chart that showcases the social media channels for all 4 brands and the time evaluation period, as well as the followers and for Facebook, the likes of each brand. And you can see that Not Your Average Joe doesn't have a Twitter. And then in our next slide, it's really important to understand that we asked ourselves 2 major research questions. It was, does an organization that tailor their social media towards the majority demographic of each platform gain more followers and views? And are the social media platforms that are more active gain more engagement and views? And the answer is yes. So let's start with Second Wind. Their key message is a nonprofit donation-based coffee shop ran by student volunteers, the living room on Campus Corner, a place for everyone. And in their most recent campaign, the past 2 months, they've been using the slogan, pick up a good habit. Starbucks uses the slogan to inspire and nurture the human spirit, 1 person, 1 cup, and 1 neighborhood at a time. Not Your Average Joe's message is more community-oriented, and they say to inspire our community by including adults with intellectual and developmental abilities in the creation of exceptional coffee. Haystack is more consumer-friendly in this, theirs are joyfully serving quality coffee and open to all. Additionally, you'll see that with post content, there's distinct categories that we notice. For Second Wind, we have the events category, product and aesthetic, volunteer feature, and graphic quotes. For Starbucks, we have the glamour shots, reels, and popular tweets. For Not Your Average Joes, we have staff and volunteer features, new products, event imagery. For Haystack, we have customer features, product shots and media, staff features, and event updates. As you can see, Second Wind and Haystack are the only 2 with predominantly or mostly original content. Second Wind's communication style can be seen as more lighthearted and well-meaning and casual. Starbucks and Haystack's is more themed, with Haystack being more excitable and hospitable. And Not Your Average Joe is worth noting because they have a more community-oriented kind of speech. If you look at their frequencies, Haystack and Second Wind Coffee are the only ones that post bi-monthly, which is probably contributing to like their weaker engagement, as opposed to Starbucks, which posts multiple times a day, and Your Average Joe that posts about 3 to 4 times a day. So on the next slide, we'll see that how like the visual aesthetics of their social media matters. So let's start with Second Wind. So we're using Instagram as a case study for the social media platforms that it is the most reachable for brands. So if you look at Second Wind, it's very much just simple. It has just the events and then a couple product features and maybe a customer feature. But other than that, the color coordination, the aesthetics are not well put together. Starbucks, of course, since they're a multinational media company and brand, they have the opportunity to be more holiday themed. As you can see, they're starting to do Christmas branding. Their product shots are done more professionally than the other brands, but that's also because they're a national chain. As for Not Your Average Show, their shots are more community oriented. As you can see, they're always featuring people and the work they're doing, as well as the coffee and the products, as well as if you look at their bio, they talk about Exceptional, and they really focus in on their donor base in their group. Haystack, on the other hand, is almost closer to Starbucks in the way that they market more consumer friendly. It's very much like targeted marketing. You have very aesthetically pleasing video content and reels, and very trendy ways of captioning and stuff. So I would say that from Haystack Coffee, we could ascertain that Second Wind would really benefit from using the Reels feature. But moving forward,
To confidently receive accurate and up-to-date data, we used a non-random sampling technique. By using a web survey, we were able to receive free data while obtaining a great number of responses. The total number of completed responses was 398. Surveys were sent out to families, friends, and members of the Norman community. Participants took 5 to 10 minutes to complete the survey, and the time period as to which the survey was available was from October 27th to November 14th. The survey was not confined to any geographical radius, and that helped get a large number of respondents for researchers. A majority of the respondents, which was 60.97%, were university students, and 97% were actually students from the University of Oklahoma. 61.51% of the respondents have lived in the Norman community from 1 to 5 years, and 20.5% have lived in the Norman or surrounding areas for over 10 years.
So from the survey that Brenna was talking about, we took the data that we gathered from our participants, and we gained many insights into our key publics. Responses yielded descriptive and inferential survey findings that address the correlation between donor willingness and the pay what you can system, gender attitudes toward donations, and the social media habits of current and potential donors, as well as their awareness of Second Wind in the social media landscape. By analyzing these results, we believe Second Wind Coffee House can more effectively reach their target donor base. Looking at the data, there was no relationship between people who are more comfortable with the pay what you can system and willingness to donate, as we found that individuals who are more comfortable with the pay what you can system do not donate more. Of the survey responses, our findings determined the relationships between donation willingness and consumer comfortability likely to donate based on gender and the distribution of information through social media channels. When studying the research hypothesis, people who are more comfortable with the pay what you can system are more likely to donate. We found that this hypothesis was not able to be supported. A second test that was run did determine that the audience is more likely to donate their extra funds to a nonprofit in general. And between male and female donors as different audience members, female respondents have a more positive attitude towards the pay system than male respondents. And 47.3% of our respondents were not familiar with Second Wind Coffee House, which suggests that the potential donors have a low awareness of the brand. And also, out of the 398 respondents, only 98 have visited the physical location. And as you can see in the graph, 69.41% of respondents are not able to donate due to financial reasons. However, 23.14% reported that it is difficult because they don't know how the donations would be used. And from our research question, are students more likely to attain information about coffee shops from social media than those who are age 50 and above? We found that the top 3 social media channels that they use are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
So there are some underlying things that there is no awareness for Second Wind Coffee House, and as you can see from our research previously, from our in-depth interviews and survey, you can see that most people don't know how to donate, how to volunteer, or even what our mission is about. So we feel that we should increase our social media presence on all platforms, meaning Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And what a better way to communicate this is to tailor it towards their audience, meaning that Facebook would be tailored towards an audience that are older, maybe 30 plus, and Twitter and Instagram would be tailored towards a younger audience that could find out how to donate, how their donation matters. And so we feel that it is lacking in posts and that informs this audience. So we recommend regular posts about community events, how to donate, volunteer opportunities, which would really help with a younger audience from the fraternity and sororities and what they offer at this establishment. This would really help with maybe personal testimonies or even Instagram takeovers of volunteers and donors. And that could really help with the relationship that the organization has with its audience and its internal and external. So in general, we feel that Second Wind Coffee House can learn a lot from its competitors in increasing their social media presence because of how much it could inform their audience and its potential donors. So we feel that this is a very realistic option moving forward. And that concludes our presentation. We thank you for your time and we appreciate you having us. Thank you.